Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Premiere Pro tutorial. Hey, got your attention, didn't I? So, just a little Joker impersonation to get your attention there, everybody. So, welcome back, guys. We're going to get started with another tutorial today. We are learning about two things very quickly: the rate stretch tool, which is a new tool that I want to show you guys, and finally, how to render your video, the thing you've all been waiting for. This is pretty much the last step right before we get into exporting, which will be on another day, but it's one of the last pieces you need to actually finish your video. So we will have one more tutorial talking about exporting, probably tomorrow. But today we are talking about rendering. So first, I do want to show you the rate stretch tool. And the rate stretch tool is really cool. I want to show you guys on probably one of these other clips where there was something moving fast, because you can't really see what rate stretch can do until you see it being done on something that's moving. Okay, if I showed you the rate stretch tool over here on just this interview with Bruce Lee, you wouldn't really be able to tell what's going on, because the rate stretch tool, what it will allow you to do is basically a slow motion effect, which is really cool. And I remember at the beginning I told you guys that I only really use the selection tool and the razor tool. Well, I guess I kind of lied. I didn't intend to mislead anybody, but to be honest, I very rarely use the rate stretch tool. But when I do, it really helps me to do slow motion. So if you were wondering how to do slow motion, well, now you know. So what you're going to do is you're going to come over here to this tool. It's called the Ripple Edit tool. Well, if you click and hold, there's actually three tools nested into one. You're going to come down to the bottom and click Rate Stretch. So what this will allow you to do is basically grab a clip and stretch it out. So it looks as if I'm untrimming a clip, but this was the whole clip. So what I'm really doing right now is I'm grabbing it and stretching it out across time. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and push this a little further down and go back to my tool, my rate stretch tool here, and stretch it out a little more. So check it out, what it looks like. I'm actually slowing down the video, okay, over the course of however many seconds. So remember, this video was moving really fast. That's what the rate stretch tool does. Now if I go back to my selection tool, I can actually trim that down. Okay, so I'm not squishing it anymore. I'm trimming down the slow motion of what I just did. So it's still a slow motion, but I've trimmed it to only like 2 seconds. Okay, here's another example right here. Here's these cars going by. I'm going to take my rate stretch tool and just stretch this out, and check it out. It's going to give me a slow motion type of effect. Okay, so if you have any shots of like bloopers where like people were dancing or moving around or anything that has action to it, you're going to be able to use the rate stretch tool to basically stretch that out and make it kind of cool looking. Okay, so I just wanted to show you guys that. Thought it was really neat. One person already asked me how to do slow motion effect, and I thought, well, what the heck, I'll just show everybody how to do that. Okay, keep in mind, if you do have audio on something that you're going to stretch out, it will stretch out that audio as well and make it sound really slow and kind of awkward. So you may want to delete your audio from any video that you're going to use on rate stretch. That's why I'm kind of recommending that you may just use it for something like bloopers, something like that, that doesn't really need to have any dialogue to it. Okay, so if any of you guys are wondering how to delete audio, it's really easy. You can ask me for help if you can't remember how to do it later, but it's really easy. You just right click on a clip and you just click unlink. So what that's going to do is detach the audio from the video so that they can be so that they can move around independently from each other. And then I just hit the delete key, and that's how you would get rid of audio. Keep in mind, if you ever unlink audio from video, you are potentially going to really have a mess on your hands if you're not keeping track of your video and audio together, and you're going to possibly take your audio off sync from your video. So I only unlink audio from video if I really pretty much just want to delete it for something like, if I didn't want any audio to be in there, or if it was for something like, bloopers or something like that. Okay, I'm going to undo that and link my video and audio back together. Okay, so now for the most important part, rendering, okay? I know you guys were probably wondering yesterday, why is he doing all of this stuff in the middle of the timeline? When I had my title here and the interview with Bruce Lee, I was doing all of that in the middle, and I was saying that that was the beginning. Well, that might have been confusing to some of you guys, but that's because you didn't know what I know, and that is that rendering can actually make a video out of something only maybe in the middle of the timeline or wherever you want to select that to be. So for instance, what you guys didn't see is that I actually brought in my whole tutorial video to edit pieces of it to make it a little more presentable yesterday. You didn't know, but I had this all the way over here on the other side of the timeline. But what I'm going to do today is go ahead and zoom back into the middle. And so the point I'm trying to make here is that you can have lots of different projects in the same timeline. And then you can use the rendering to basically render out only a section of that timeline to be your video. Let me just show you what I mean. So I'm going to go ahead and move everything here. What I've just highlighted and selected is what I want to be my video. I really don't care what's before or after it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to render what's called in and out points. So in and out is really awesome. It will allow you to tell Premiere, hey, this is what I want to be my video. Only render this part and export this part of the video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here. I'm going to take my CTI and bring it just maybe a few seconds before the video starts. I like to have a couple of seconds of black at the beginning and the end of all of my videos. And what you're going to do is you see the top, this little part right here is called the playhead. The whole line, the blue line, is called the CTI, as we've already learned. But the top part here is called the playhead. You're going to right click on the playhead and you're going to come up here and you're going to click you're going to click on, yes, mark in. So what that will do is it's going to set an end point, a start point, or what's called an end point. And then what we're going to do is come all the way to the end of what we want our video to be. We're going to right click again and we're going to click mark out. So what that does is it sets an in and an out point. And what you can do is actually readjust those if you need. You can move the in and the out points wherever you need them to be if they're not where they're supposed to be. But they will snap to this CTI. Okay, so now you can see here in the middle I've got this part of in and out, and it's highlighting only what is in between. So now what I can do is come up here to sequence, and then I can say render in to out. And what that's going to do is only render what is in between the in and the out points. So you could literally have lots of different things in the same project, in the same timeline, but it's only going to render and export what you have set to be in and out. So pretty cool, right? So I'm going to go ahead and tell it to render. Notice right here there is a red line. It'll either be red or yellow. What that means is that it hasn't been rendered yet. And rendering is basically a way for Premiere to cache the information in the memory to make it easier when you export. So I'm going to go ahead and render, and I'm going to render in to out. And what that's going to do is it's going to take a little while. You see this blue progress bar, and I can actually hear my computer revving up as it's rendering. And now you see this whole line right here is green. That means it's been rendered, it's cached into the memory of Premiere and my computer, and it's ready to be exported. Okay, so that's basically the last part that you want to do before we get ready to export. So guys, if you're ready today, I would say go ahead, set some in and out points, and render everything in your timeline. And that is going to get everything ready for you to export, hopefully all together on Friday. All right, guys, that's it. Let's get to work. I want to see you guys working. And remember, I want to see everybody doing what they're supposed to be doing with a smile on your face. If you're not working, you better watch out. You never know who's watching behind you.